Good afternoon to all the parents who are here with us today. And thank you for sharing with us a moment of your time. And I hope that you will enjoy and at the same time learn from our very special resource speaker. Before we finally start, before we officially start, sorry, please join me in a minute of prayer to be followed by the Philippine National Anthem.
Il Signore mi rende uno strumento della vostra pace.
Lord, make me an instrument of your
Lasciarlo seminare l'amore.
Where there is hatred, let me sow love.
Dove ci è ferita,
Where there is injury,
perdono. Dove ci è dubbio,
where there is doubt,
fede. Dove ci è
where
disperazione,
there is despair,
sperare. Dove ci è nerezza,
there is darkness,
innarsi. Dove ci è la tristezza, Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console,
to be understood as to understand.
loved as to love, as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying that we are born again.
It is in dying that we are born again.
It is in dying that we are born again to eternal life. Signore, mi rende un strumento della vostra pace.
Lord, make me,
Signore,
make me an instrument of your peace.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Ang
right, thank you very much. And now, may I turn over the screen to our GCCSO Director, Dr. Maria Leonila V. Orea, for her welcome remarks.
Mapagpalang araw sa ating mga minamahal na magulang. Magdadalawang taon na tayong nagtuturo, gumagabay sa pag-aaral ng ating mga anak dulot ng quarantine. Bagamat masasabi natin na hindi naging madali sa ating mag-transition sa ganitong gampanin, lalo na hindi natin napaghandaan, ito ay masasabi kong isang growth opportunity sa atin bilang isang magulang. This afternoon, we will further enhance your skills to help your children identify and manage their multiple roles at home in the midst of the difficulties and stress of online learning. Your keen interest to listen to our resource speaker and to participate by asking questions via the UEGCSO Manila YouTube page and on this Meet, and of course, the question you posted or you indicated on our pre-registration is a clear indication your desire to support your children in the challenges they are facing right now. Marami pong salamat sa malugod ninyong pagdalo sa aming imbitasyon sa webinar na ito. Mabuhay po kayo.
Thank you, Dr. Orea. This time, may I call on Ms. Diane Rodriguez to introduce our very special resource speaker.
Thank you, Ms. Grace. Good morning to our loving parents and teachers. It's a pleasure and honor to introduce to you our speaker for this afternoon. Professor Nina Era is passionate in two fields, education and psychology. She is presently on the last leg of finishing her PhD in Child and Family Psychology in Miriam College. She finished her MA in Childhood Education and BS Psychology also in Miriam College. Before teaching at the tertiary level, she was an energetic preschool teacher. At present, she is a full-time faculty member of the College of Education, Department of Professional Education in UE, Manila. She is also a visiting professor in the Graduate School of Colegio de San Lorenzo. Aside from teaching, she does counseling and therapy sessions to children, adolescents, and families who are in crisis at Reintegration for Care and Wholeness Foundation, a counseling center in Katipunan, Quezon City. Aside from this, Professor Dina is a sought-after speaker in different parenting and teacher training seminars all over the Philippines. She is also a resource person in several programs of different TV networks. Professor Nina is affiliated to different professional organizations like Psychological Association of the Philippines and the World Council for Curriculum Instruction, to name a few. On a personal note, Professor Nina loves being a mother to her not-so-young kids, Cristia, Isabel, and Rafael. Driven by her advocacy to be an inspiration to her fellow solo parent, Professor Nina is the consultant advisor of the Federation of the United Solo Parents of the Philippines. Dear parents, let's give our speaker a round of virtual applause.
Thank you very much, Miss
Welcome, Ma'am Nina.
Diane. Maraming salamat po sa muling pag-imbita sa akin at walang sawang pag-imbita sa akin sa inyong mga activities sa GCCSO. So to all the officers, the staff, our guidance counselors, ang ating mga importanteng mga tao ngayon sa pinagdadaanan natin ngayon. So right now, may I share my screen? Yan na po. Ayan. Thank you. So, wait. Ayan. Let me check if I'm already on. Ayun. Nakikita niyo na po ang aking screen? Yan. All right. So I am here to talk about threading through the chaos at home. I'm sure a lot of parents, just like what Director Orea mentioned a while ago, mag-anniversary na tayo, di ba? 2 years na po tayo sa pandemic na ito. And I know it has been very, very, very difficult, most especially to the parents who are also teachers of their kids at home. Okay? Ako po bilang I do counseling as well. I came across a lot of different and difficult mental health issues of our dear students in relation. Chaos at home ang nangyayari po ngayon. So may I start my presentation? I'll be showing two pictures that I'm sure you're very much familiar. Diba? This is I think a 6 or 7-year-old boy in the United States who became viral. Okay, when the parents took a picture of him really having a hard time during online classes. So, di ba, I'm sure yung mga anak nyo, baka ganito rin po ang kanilang mga pinagdadaanan. Another picture ito dito sa ating kababayan, na talagang tuwing tinitingnan nila yung kanilang modules, para silang talagang stress. Sabi ko nga, yung mga bata ngayon, bata pa lang stress na talaga. And I'm sure, sabi ko, we don't disregard kung stress yung mga anak. Alam ko, stress din po ang mga magulang because we have bigger responsibilities. Okay? So, sana po, hindi ganito yung mga itsura ng ating mga anak tuwing sila ay nasa online class. Okay? Of really wanting to learn, but at the same time, they also would have time to, to refresh, to re-energize, and to also do their, me time. Diba? Yung paglalaro. Kasi this is something the pandemic has taken away from our children. Diba? Talaga pong sinasabi nga na ang socialization skills po ng mga bata ngayon ay talagang naapektuhan because of the pandemic. Okay? So I'd like to just give you a few data on several surveys done from last year to the present year as to what's happening with our children now that we are still in this online setup. Okay, so from the Premier Value Provider, this was done last 2020, between May 5 to May 16, nakita po talaga that the younger ones generally have a higher likelihood of suffering from severe, extremely severe levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. And these are the Generation Zs and millennials. So ito po ay karamihan ng ating mga estudyante. Well, definitely the millennials are the young, from the young working class. So sila yung mga yuppies na tinatawag natin. But the Gen Zs, ayan po yung ating mga nasa kolehiyo, nasa high school, yung iba nasa elementary, tapos yung mas bata sa elementary, they are what we call the alpha generation. And I'm sure baka wala pa pong masyadong pag-aaral kung ano po ang naging effect ng itong pandemyang ito sa mga alpha generation. But definitely, the most hit generation would be the Generation Z and the millennials. Okay. So talagang makikita po ninyo ang malalim na pinagdadaanan ngayong pandemic na ito. Okay? And another survey, this one is the most latest by Safe, Equitable, Quality and Relevant Education Survey. It was found out students said distance learning activities, okay, had adversely affected their physical and mental health. Okay, so it's not just physical, but also their mental health. The long hours of screen time, di ba po, masakit yung mata, inadequate sleep due to the numerous academic requirements and deadlines. There are students who would tell me that they won't even sleep. They would be finishing requirements after requirements from teachers. Okay. And definitely, if we lack sleep, it will affect our mental health. Okay, talagang magiging cranky tayo, hindi tayo makakapag-isip ng maayos, at talagang magiging very sensitive tayo. Okay? The irregular meals as well and meal times due to mounting class. Diba yung iba hindi na nakakapag... Kasi siyempre, diba, we make the most of bedtimes, lalo na yung mga napuyat. So they would probably, if they have a 7:30 class, they'd most likely wake up at 7:20, di ba? Mabilis lang, bihis lang ng pantaas, tas makikinig na. And they wouldn't have the time already to eat their meals. And definitely, it affected their physical health. The limited social interaction. Diba? Yung wala na tayong mga friends, ayan yung talagang sobrang nakaapekto. Alam naman po natin, lalo na yung mga 10 years old pataas na mga bata, social interaction is very important. Kaya nga they look forward to going to school because they look forward to being with their friends. Diba? Yan yung chika-chika, kwentuhan, tawanan, sabay mag-lunch, sabay mag-recess, sabay gumawa ng mga activities, but now, wala na tayong ganon. Diba? And really, I've seen how children now have been affected in terms of their socialization skills. May problema na nga yung socialization skills ng mga bata ngayon eh. Nadagdagan yung lalim ng problema dahil nakulong sila sa mga bahay nila. Okay? At wala na silang nakausap, puro ganito na lang. Zoom, Google Meet parties na lang meron silang kaalaman. And the inability also to understand the lesson, which could definitely lead to high levels of stress. Imagine that, diba? As a child, listening to your teacher and alam mo yun, parang hala, ano yun? Lalo na kung hindi mo yun gustong subject. Diba? Imagine mo, like last Saturday, I had a client, she was telling me how she hated math and how she really hates math even now. Kasi parang it's so difficult. Parang sobra na raw siyang nasistress to a point that she would literally bang her head on the wall because she does not understand the lesson. Okay? So, napapagod na raw siya. Parang feeling niya, hindi naman ako bumiyahe, hindi naman ako gumising ng super aga, pero parang ang pagod na pagod ako. And a lot of young kids would even have panic attacks already. Diba? Just the fact na parang, oh my God, ano yan, hindi ko alam yung lesson. Tapos meron na namang idadagdag na lesson si teacher. Hindi naman po natin minsan talaga masisi ang ating mga guro. Dahil ako rin ay guro. Diba, limited po kasi ang mga synchronous sessions namin. And so, we are sometimes forced to make the lesson a little faster so that we could cover a lot of topics. Pero minsan yun nga yung effect, diba po? Dahil sa sobrang bilis minsan or sa sobrang limited ng time, we are forcing the students to really just grasp. Bala kayo kung di nyo naintindihan minsan. We'll just have to support it with additional probably the presentations, probably the teacher would share in Canvas or in their Google Classroom, yung mga ganyan. And of course, the feeling of being alone. Diba? Yung talagang alam nila na nandun ang parents nila o may mga kapatid sila, pero yung feeling nila kasi yun nga wala akong kaibigan. So there is that feeling of being alone that could definitely affect their mental health. And another part of the survey was that 33.4% said also that distance learning had strained their relationship with their families. Diba? Ironically, nagkaroon ng problema. Nakita actually, napansin ko po yan since last year. I had several sessions, counseling sessions with families already. That really, the starting point was, ang kliyente ko po originally was, for example, one of their child. So matagal ko ng kliyente yung anak, tapos like last year, the parents would start calling me that they would want to have family counseling because they feel like it's even more difficult to deal with each other now. Diba? So, yun yung irony kasi syempre 'di ba po, noong nung pumapasok pa tayo rather face to face with work, with school, we have little time with each other. Diba? So minsan parang we try to just ignore something that's very petty already. Diba? Ayaw na natin pagbigyan or minsan wala na kasi tayong time talagang mapansin. Okay? Pero dahil ngayon magkakasama tayo, especially during the peak of the lockdown, talagang ECQ, walang labasan. Diba po, talagang nagkakakitaan kayo 24/7. And so, it was so stressful. I remember one couple, nagpunta doon. Sabi ng wife, sabi niya, I did lockdown. Diba? Parang one day na lang sumabog. And then, alam mo yun, yung linya na ganyan ka naman talaga. And so on and so forth. And when ranting now all the things that she did probably or she did not do before. So nagkaroon ng pagkakataon na ilabas. O minsan, hindi lang mailabas, kung hindi, ma-magnify. Diba? Kahit minsan ganun kaliit, sabi nga natin, because we are highly stressed, it gets magnified 10 times over. Okay? So talagang marami pong na-stress, kaya maraming tumaas ang mental health issues, hindi lang ng ating mga kabataan, kundi lahat po tayo. Sabi ko nga, even the most stable person emotionally had felt a certain instability during the lockdown because of course, who was prepared for that, 'di ba? Sino bang alam na ganito tayo katagal na nasa ating mga bahay? Okay? So, talagang masasabi po natin that mental health is definitely 100% affected. Even those people who are working in the mental health in Mandaluyong, okay, mental institution in Mandaluyong, I got to talk to a colleague of mine who's working there. Sabi niya, grabe yung pagdoble, pagtriple ng mga kaso at pabata ang ina-admit nila, whether attempted suicide, anxiety, panic attacks, lahat ng mga sometimes yun nga disorder lumalabas. At napakataas na daw talaga ng mga attempted suicide. Okay? Sabi ko nga, nako, kung mas lalo siguro doon. Diba? Kasi kami po, it's a private institution where I am connected with in terms of counseling. Nakikita po namin yung pagtaas. So much more doon po sa mga public mental institutions na mas marami talagang taong pumupunta. And of course, definitely again, parents play a great role. You play a great role in guiding and helping your children. Kayo po yung kasama eh. Ngayon nga eh, 'di ba? Parang wala nang choice eh. Kayo yung magiging teacher, kayo yung magiging coach, kayo yung magiging guidance counselor kahit paano, kayo pa yung magiging magulang pa din. Okay? So napakadami, dumagdag din ang roles ng ating mga magulang. Okay? Kaya mas mataas din ang stress ng ating mga magulang. Diba? Madidinig mo sa mga parents ngayon, hindi ko na alam kung saan ako lalagay. I'd hear that a lot of times and I would hear it a lot of times as well. They would tell me, saan ba ako nagkamali? O kaya minsan sasabihin nila, ano na ba ang nangyari sa henerasyon ngayon? And then definitely they start ranting and comparing generation. And I'd always remind parents, we cannot parent our children the way we were parented. Definitely, we are from a different generation. Diba? Tayo po ay ang henerasyon na pagka tiningnan ng malaki, diba, nilakihan ng mata ng ating mga magulang, alam na natin na may mali at tumahimik ka na. Diba? So, ang mga bata po ngayon, hindi mo na makukuha rather ng lakihan ng iyong mata. lalakihan ka lang din nila ng mata. So it's going to be useless. Okay, so it's really a different generation, and thank goodness that we have this kind of webinars, like the webinar our GCCSO organized to really help and guide parents about their role. Okay, so let me start now. How do we keep the calm at home? Diba? Kasi nga po chaotic. How do we keep the calm at home? At ayaw natin, syempre, di ba, na nagkakagulo. Sabi nga nila, magulong bahay, magulong buhay. Di ba? Whether literally or figuratively. Kaya nga ang mga magulang minsan nagiging nagger na, kaka-remind sa mga anak. Ligpitin nyo yan, ayusin nyo yan, hugasan nyo na yung pinggan. Kasi parang naguguluhan, so parang affected din ang ating mental health. And so, let me share to you tips. And I'm sure it's going to be a bit challenging. Kasi po alam ko naman talaga, kadalasan, di ba, madaling sabihin, mahirap gawin. Pero anong gusto ko rin pong sabihin, kaya pong gawin. You just have to be intentional. You just have to be aware, and you just have to know what you are feeling at this time, dear parents, because your children are watching you. Okay? So the first tip that I would like to share to our dear parents is to know how to acknowledge your own feelings. Unahin ko muna yon sa inyo, dear parents. Do you know how to acknowledge your emotions? A lot of times kasi, I also would observe this. When I ask children of what they feel, they would normally answer me, okay lang, sakto lang. And I would also answer them, okay lang and sakto lang are not emotions. Okay. And when I ask them again, do you talk about feelings at home? Like, kinakamusta ka ba ng magulang mo? At kadalasan, hindi naman po lahat, pero kadalasan ng sagot ng nakakausap kong mga kabataan ngayon ay sinasabi nila, ay hindi po uso sa amin yan, hindi namin pinag-uusapan ng emotions. Yun, tinatanong lang kami, mataas ba grade, bumagsak, ba't ka bumagsak, ano bang nangyari, yung mga ganyan, ano bang top mo, o yung mga ganon, but it's never about feelings. So I think their parents, the very, very important thing that you have to first know so that you can also teach that, okay, to your children. And this is very crucial, keeping the calm at home, is to know how to acknowledge your own feelings. What do I feel today? Okay? Ano po ba ang nararamdaman natin? And we have to know, ako ba ay malungkot ngayon? Saan nanggagaling yung lungkot? Ako ba ay irritable ngayon? Irritable ba ako kasi may nangyari? O irritable ako kasi puyat ako? Kasi we have to also know, minsan, di ba, parang ako, gano'n na kaya, pag irritable, iniisip ko, ba't ba ako irritable? Napuyat ba ako o hindi ako nakapagkape? Okay? Para aware lang ako on how am I going to project this with either my children or with the other people that I talk with every day, because your children are definitely watching you. They're definitely watching you how you manage your own emotions, dear parents. You are their role model. Kahit ano pang gusto nyo, kahit sabihin nyo may mga influencers, quote-unquote influencers na tayong tinatawag ngayong panahon na ito. Yes, they influence your children, but your influence on them is far, 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 far wider and deeper. And they watch you. They may not be able to tell you about it, but they watch you. And when they see you shouting around the house, when they see you, your emotions trying to get the best of you, they would definitely model you. Nanay ko, umagang-umaga pa lang sigaw ng sigaw. Diba, nagkaklase ako dito. Didinig ko, minsan may gano'n, minsan na-unmute yung mic nung estudyante or hindi niya siguro alam, na-unmute niya. Didinig mo, may sigaw ng sigaw sa background. May stress naman talaga yung bata. Bukod sa stress, mahihiya pa siya. Ako, sorry ma'am, pasensya na po. So, look at what you feel. Look at what you model. Look at how you handle your own emotions. You know, dear parents, when we are stressed, take note of this. When we are stressed, our unresolved issues from our own childhood gets triggered. Okay? Yan, dun lumalabas. So pansinin mo, kung nasi-stress ka, anong lumalabas doon? Hindi naman siguro sana tumataas yung buhok natin katulad nito. But our issues, we all have our issues, but there are those who has resolved their issues already and they recognize it's an issue. Pero yung iba kasi hindi nila alam, and so it would manifest and manifest and manifest, and now they try to also start to wound other people, and much worse, they wound their own children. Napaka-importante po na ang strategy natin bilang mga magulang ay pause. Napakalaki po ng nagagawa ng pause. Hinto. Hinto muna. Pahinga. Stress na stress ka, pahinga muna. Kailangan mo muna i-clear ang iyong mind. Kailangan muna, tingnan natin saan ba ito nanggagaling. Issue ko ba to o issue ng anak ko? Nagagalit ba ako sa anak ko? O meron lang akong pinariringgan dito na ibang tao sa bahay na hindi ko kayang i-confront. Kaya tong anak ko ang binubuhusan ko ng ganitong emosyon. Diba? Look at that. Feel that. Acknowledge that. If you need to really maybe get your own me time, find your own me time, why not? Kung kaya po ng inyong ng panahon, why not? Please, because it's very much helpful, okay, and preventive yung huminto muna kesa tayo ay maglabas ng ating emosyon na hindi naman healthy, di ba? At tayo ay makakasakit lalo na ng ating mga anak. So tip number 1, acknowledge your own emotions and then pause. Okay? And now let's go to number 2. Okay. This is also very important, self-care. Diba? Dear parents, diba, sabi ko nga, ang dami nating roles ngayon. Tuturuan mo pa yung anak mo, lalo na kung mas bata yung anak mo, kailangan mo pa siyang gabayan sa mga gustong ipagawa ni teacher. Meron ka ring sarili mong trabaho, may gawain ka pa sa bahay, iniisip mo pa siguro ang budget, iniisip mo pa siguro yung mga papalengkehin, iisipin mo pa kung ikaw ay may partner, asawa mo, aasikasuhin mo, napakadami. Okay? So, we have the tendency to put our needs last on the list, which is definitely very unhealthy. That is why, sabi nga po sa kanta ni Whitney Houston, diba? Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. Unfortunately, sabi ko nga, one of the best songs, one of the best singers ever, but she was not able to really understood and live through the lyrics of her song. Diba? Kailangan po yan lalo na sa panahon na tayo ay hirap na hirap, especially mentally. That's why self-care isn't selfish, it is a must. Okay? Another one would be practice vulnerability. Okay? Pag na-acknowledge na po yung emotions, hindi naman po lahat ng emotions natin ay happy. At okay lang yon. Diba? Sabi nga, it's okay not to be okay. Okay? We don't have to always put up a front that okay lang, laban lang. Diba? Sinasabi nga ngayon, hindi pwedeng laban lang. Okay? Hindi lang yun lang Minsan may mga araw kang gusto ko lang umupo, gusto ko lang tumunganga. Para ngayon, hindi ako lalaban. Uupo, muna ako. I-feel ko muna yung kahinaan ko ngayon. Diba? To be vulnerable. So that children also would not be scared if there would be times that they need to be vulnerable. Because again, they're watching you. Hindi tayo sa Superman. Yun nga minsan po yung mali sa mga magulang. We'd like to always put up a front that we are superheroes, and that we can do anything and everything, and that we are invincible. But that is not the case. We are human beings. And as human beings, we feel, we get hurt, we get tired, we get stressed, we get anxious. We sometimes panic when things become overwhelming. And it's okay. Diba? Kaya nga sabi po, avoid being toxic positive. Diba? Hindi, pag sinasabi po natin toxic positive, kasi diba, we have sometimes the intention to always say okay lang yan, pero may mga pagkakataon hindi nga po okay. Diba? May mga pagkakataon kailangan natin ramdamin ang ating emosyon. Okay? So, pag tayo po ba ay overwhelmed with our emotions, do you talk to your kids about it? Do you tell them, anak, sobra akong na-overwhelm ngayon, ha? Ito yung pinagdadaanan ni mami. Pwede bang kayo muna ang mag-asikaso nito? Diba? Lalo na kung tayo ay may mga anak ng grades 4 pataas, you could give them, you could designate roles. Later on, we'll talk more about that, para hindi po kayo lahat ang gumagawa. And then encourage them to talk also about their feelings. Ikaw, anak, kamusta? Kamusta ang school ngayon? Anong nararamdaman mo? Diba? Nahihirapan ka na ba? Okay. Gusto mo bang pag-usapan yan ngayon? Diba? Ang mga bata naman po ngayon, they like to talk about their feelings. The problem is that they don't have anyone to talk to. But they feel scared to open up. They feel that they are going to be judged if they open their feelings to you. Yun nga po yung nakakalungkot. Kasi mas takot silang mag-open sa magulang. Kasi doon sila natatakot sila sa judgment ng mga magulang. And so if you want your children to open up with you, avoid judging them. Listen. Allow them to talk about their emotions, whatever emotions may that be. Be it galit, be it frustration. Allow them to talk about it. Okay? Like, I remember I had a client before, because of an overwhelming activity. Pumunta daw siya sa dinner table kasi nga dinner na. And then the moment he sat on the dinner table, was like, the usual, alam mo yung mga itsura ng mga ano ngayon, di ba? Gen Z. With all the remarks na, so tired of life, I wanna die. That was his side comment. Yan. Si parents parang nag-react, parang, what? Parang you wanna die? And nagbigay ng mahabang lecture. Si mother at si father, pinagtulungan nila. Mahabang lecture yung bata about life, how lucky you are to be schooled in a good school, how lucky you are, you have the best gadget, and so on and so forth. Ano pong nangyari? Di lalong naapektuhan yung bata. Kasi hindi naman yun yung gusto niya. Ang gusto lang niya, alam naman natin nga yung mga, because of the influencers, they hear it in shows, they hear it in the series that they watch. Diba? Minsan may mga ganong mga ano lang, saying or yung mga kanilang side comment, yung I wanna die. But they don't mean that. So ikaw lang bilang parent, encourage them. Bakit naman anak? Ano bang nangyari? And then from there, baka makita mo kung saan nagmumula yung kanyang bigat ng nararamdaman. Okay? So instead of you driving your kids away, allow them. Okay? Allow them to talk about it and make them feel that it's okay to be vulnerable. Okay? And now let's go to another one. Yan, validate their emotions as well. Diba? Wala pong emotion kasi na mali. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, hindi mo dapat na nararamdaman. Okay? Kasi wala po tayong karapatan magsabi nun. Whatever their emotions are, that's their emotions. Okay? Never say, natin yan, yung mga generation ko, Gen X. Marami ako nadidinig yan. Parang, nung panahon nga namin, wala nga kaming ganito. Kayo nga, maswerte. No. Okay? You turn your children off by saying that because you're invalidating what they feel. Just listen. Again, you can definitely share your 2 cents as well. Pero makinig ka muna bago kanila pakinggan. Okay? And yan, ito po, teach them now healthy coping skills. Kayo, pag galit, ano po bang ginagawa ninyo? Sumisigaw? Okay? Nagmumura? Nagdadabog? Nakikita niya ba kung kayo po with the parents, mom and dad? Nagsisigawan din kayo pag kayo ay high blood na? O meron kayong kanya-kanyang way to cope? Okay? Okay naman pong magalit. It's a healthy emotion. We all get angry. Mas nakakatakot kung hindi kayo marunong magalit. But how do you cope? How do you show when you're angry? You can of course do an exercise. Maybe yung iba yan atakbo, talk to friends. Diba? Pwede po tayong sumika, mag-ano muna tayo, pause muna, tas kwento, tawagan. O, para yung mga bata din, alam nila, pwede palang magalit, pero hindi kailangan ng sigawan. Hindi kailangan magdabugan tayo dito. Hindi kailangan tayo magmurahan. Diba? There are so many ways that you can cope. You can meditate. You can also find a hobby. Diba? Kaya nga po maraming naging plantito, plantita ngayon. Because of what they're feeling. Diba? Kailangan po kasi natin i-distract din yung ating emotions. Kasi nga, yung ating brain, pag tayo po ay nasa-stress, yung logical part ng brain natin, nag-shrink po kasi siya. At yung ating emotional part ng brain, po siya, na-enlarge. So ano pong ibig sabihin nun? Pag stressed po tayo, lalo na kung highly stressed, okay, hindi po tayo nakapag-isip ng tama. Kaya nga minsan, di ba, isasabi na natin yung mga bagay na hindi naman natin kailangan sabihin. Kasi out of being emotional and impulsive. Because our thinking brain is, of course, shrinking. At yung ating feeling brain, okay, yung part ng pakiramdam, is enlarging. So kahit konting inis lang ang feeling natin, parang gusto mo, yun na nga, I wanna die. Kaya minsan ganun yung pakiramdam po ng ating mga anak. Minsan, it's not because they want to die, but because they're so stressed with a lot of things. And find a way that you can cope with it. You start showing them how you cope stress. Pag nakikita nila na meron kang ginagawa, pag ikaw ay nasa-stress, gagayahin ka ng mga anak mo. Gagawa din sila ng hobby or magme-meditate, magyo-yoga yan. O ayan, manunood muna tayo ng Netflix or magpapakinig muna tayo ng music, whatever genre na makakapagpakalma sa init ng ulo mo. Okay? But importante, have your own coping skills. Okay. Next, ito po yung isa ring tinanggal ng ating pandemya, yung routine. That's why our mental health got affected because routine wasn't there anymore. Diba? Nawala po yung routine sa atin because of the pandemic. We wake up, at lalo na nung wala pang mga pasok or siyempre, diba, may mga times nga na asynchronous yung classes, so you don't have to really wake up at a certain time. Okay? Meron kang parang self-pace yung ginagawa na trabaho ng ating mga anak. Tayo din, di ba, mga nagtatrabaho, lalo na yung mga work from home setup, pwede tayong mag-start anytime probably, not unless we have like Zoom meetings, kasi wala naman tayo sa opisina. Okay? So nawala yung routine, and routine gives us that predictability. Diba? When something is unpredictable, things become uncertain. When things become uncertain, we now start to feel anxiety. Diba? Kasi ano nang susunod? Anong gagawin ko? Diba? So ano pong kailangan para ma-maintain ang ating balanse? Establish a routine with your children. Okay? Wake up the same time every day. Ano po yung talagang gising dapat? Okay? Shower also, yung iba kasi hindi na naliligo dahil hindi naman daw pumapasok talaga, so wala nang ligo. Syempre, di ba yung feeling mo pag di ka naligo, bukod sa malagkit, kung napaka-init, napaka-humid ng ating weather, yung feeling kasi, di ba, pag di ka naligo, parang relax lang. Yung parang, lang tayo, chill-chill lang. So, yun yung binibigay mong signal sa brain mo eh. Chill lang. Paano kung mag-aaral? Paano kung magtatrabaho? Okay? And dress up for the day. Dress up as if you're going out. Okay? Although I know, yung mga bottom natin, di ba? Mga, yan, naka-shorts na lang. But at least dress that they have the feel na papasok ako, nag-ayos ako. Diba? Nag-blower ako, nag-plancha ako ng buhok. Okay? So, dressed for the day, that's part also of establishing a routine. Also, eat meals at regular times. Kung ano po yung regular breakfast time nyo, ano yung regular meal nyo, pag breakfast, pag lunch, pag dinner, and then go to bed also the same time each night. Okay? Alam mo na by this time, okay, yung brain ko kailangan ng mag-shut off, pahinga na, gising na naman ng ganon. Diba? Kasi yung iba nga parang, hindi, mamaya ako nagagawin, mag-video games muna ako. Anuhin ko muna to. Mamaya na yung requirements ni teacher. Or bukas na yan, sa susunod pa naman yung pasahan. Tapos magka-cram, di sila matutulog. Pag hindi sila natulog, again, mental health na naman, di yan makikinig, cranky yan. Tapos mamaya, kayo din, as parents, cranky kayo o mag-aaway kayo. Diba? So, avoid po natin yon. So, go to bed at the same time each night. And also, it is much recommended to set daily and weekly agendas and goals. Maganda po, tulungan natin ang ating mga anak. Well, for those parents who are here with us who have younger kids, help them out in putting a schedule. Like for Monday, ano yung oras na pwede akong manood lang ng TV or manood ng TikTok? Okay? Ano ba yung oras na pwede ako, nagagawin ko talaga yung homeworks o yung mga asynchronous activities? Ano bang time na pwede akong chumika ko with friends? Anong time ako dapat nakahiga na? So tulungan, kung kayo po ay meron na yung mga adolescents na ang inyong mga anak, hayaan nyo na sila. Pwede nyo lang sabihan lang, gawa ka ng weekly schedule mo. Lagyan mo ng to-do list para ngayon nakikita mo ano yung susunod ko ngayong gagawin. 'Di ba? Ano na yung gaano ba kadami tong oras. That's why I also would recommend even to my clients or even with my students, I tell them, look, parang learn to know yourself as well as a learner. Parang you have to know what works best for me. Kasi 'di ba may iba gusto nila na yun nga talagang ang brain nila ay nagtatrabaho medyo paggabi. May iba talagang mas umaga. May iba mas gusto nilang nag-uumpisa with easy activities first, then go to the hard ones. May iba naman they like to start rather with the hard ones and then end with the easy one. It's up to you. Wala naman po yung one size fits all. But know yourself, and then by knowing yourself, now set your daily and weekly agendas. Kasi pag wala pong agenda, yun nga, labo-labo po yan. Pag labo-labo po yan, ay talagang magkakagulo at magkakaroon ng away sa bahay. Diba? Kaya nga sasabihin minsan ng parents, tuwing tinatanong ko kung nag-aral na sila, nag-aral na, pero hindi ko naman nakikitang nag-aaral, puro na lang video games. Diba? So, bigyan nyo sila ng responsibility. Okay? Give them the task to fix their daily and weekly agendas. Okay? Now, let's go to set boundaries. Ito po ay napaka-importante, dear parents. At this point in time, again, boundaries have been have been enmeshed already. Parang hindi mo na alam saan na yung bahay, saan na yung trabaho. Diba? Kasi nga, yung ating bahay naging trabaho na rin. Unlike before, diba, we used to feel that it's a safe haven when we're at home. Parang, hay, salamat, wala nang work. Pero dahil nga ngayon, diba, andito na yung trabaho, andito na yung left and right meetings, andito na yung daily chores, household chores ng bahay, nagluto ba, yung kalat, yung lahat. So nawala yung boundaries na yon. So anong dapat? Ibalik natin. Okay? Ibalik ang boundaries na yan. What does it mean? To avoid burnout. Diba? Kaya nga po sinasabi ngayon, napakadami ring mga empleyado at mga estudyante na nakaka-experience po ng burnout. When you say burnout, I always would explain this through this example. Para po yung sasakyan running on empty. 'Di ba? Pag ang sasakyan natin, 'di ba, nagkakaroon yan nagbi-blink yan ng red para sabihin pumunta ka na sa malapit na gasolinahan. Dahil konti na lang titirik na ako. Yun yung ano ng sasakyan eh. Pag ngayon pinaabot mo pa at tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang andar mo, hihinto yan sa kalagitnaan kahit saang ka pa. Okay? So ganun yung feeling, yung burnout, huminto ka na, ayaw ko na. Ayaw ko na, pagod na ako. Okay, so that is burnout, and we don't like that. We don't like our children to have that feeling. I'm sure you don't like to have that feeling. That is why you have to designate time for household chores and schoolwork. Okay? Noong bang panahon na tayo ay nasa eskwelahan, ang ating mga anak, nauutusan ba natin silang maghugas ng pinggan? Nauutusan ba natin magbantay ka muna dyan ng tindahan habang nakikinig ka sa teacher? O ayusin mo muna ito, ano mo muna ito, itupi mo muna, kunin mo yung sinampay. Okay. Hindi naman po, 'di ba? Kasi wala sila doon. So imposible mo silang mautusan. Pero yung ginagawa natin 'yon. Ginagawa natin 'yon kasi nandyan lang sila. Pero pag ganun po ang ginawa natin, mawawala po kasi yung boundaries. Hindi na ngayon alam ng bata, teka lang, ano na ba to? Nasa bahay ba ako ngayon? Or nasa ano ako? Nasa school mode ako o nasa bahay mode ako? Hindi alam ng bata. Saka alam po natin ngayon, 'di ba? With a very short attention span of children. Okay? The moment you talk to them and tell them, anak, kunin mo nga yung ganito. No, wala na yung focus. Ang hirap bumalik po nun. Kaya nga, ako nga po, simple ako na medyo matanda na po. Pagka po ako ay nag-uumpisa ng klase, sasabihin ko sa estudyante, wait lang pag nag-a-admit ako kasi I cannot do two things at the same time. Admitting, clicking the admit, and then talking or discussing a lesson. That's why I highly encourage the students to please come on time. I tell them because I get distracted. Nawawala yung nawawala yung thought mo eh. So ganun din po yung mga bata, lalo na yung mga bata na mas maliksi po ang attention span nila. So you really have to designate time for household chores and schoolwork. Kaya nga importanteng merong schedule. Diba? Para po pag ang schedule ay schoolwork, do not disturb. Kami po sa bahay, ganun din po kami because my two children are already like working. So when we are in our work mode, walang utos-utos dyan. Okay? Walang kanya-kanyang tayo sa trabaho. Not unless we signal each other, okay, medyo na ako, mas flexible na ako ngayon, okay na. So then, that's the time. Yung mga minsan, di ba, may nag-doorbell na Lazada o Shopee, then maybe yon pwedeng mapakiusapan. Pero as much as possible, really designate kung ano lang po yung para ngayon household chores din yon. Gawin niyo yung household chores. Ngayon schoolwork lang, wag muna. Okay? Wala naman pong namamatay sa madumi at magulong bahay, 'di ba? Pwede naman pong may ibang araw 'yan o ibang oras para diyan. Okay? Because that could lead to burnout. And again, we don't like that. Okay? And also break up screen time into small increments as much as possible kasi po naka-screen time na sila. Ba, yun na nga yung pag-aaral nila. Tapos screen time pa din like TikTok, tapos lahat ng social media, tapos nag-Netflix pa sila. So bukod sa physically, 'di ba, yung ating mata ay napapagod, wala nang movement. Okay? Pag wala nang movement, again, it affects our mental health. And also manage of course, their social media and their screen time. For young children, okay, ito po yung sinasabi ng American Pediatric Association na ang social media use ng mga 8 years old, yung mga nasa preschool, or screen time ng mga ganong age, ay mga maximum lang of an hour. Okay? Kasi nga, ngayon dadagdagan mo pa yon dahil nga doon sila nag-aaral. Okay? So talagang kailangan mas bawasan pa po ang social media and screen time ng ating mga kabataan. Okay? And yan, ito na po yung sinasabi ko rin kanina, do not overfunction. Kasi kayo rin po, dear parents, you will feel burnout as well if you overfunction because you're working, you're teaching, you're doing a lot of other roles, then you will now feel as if pasan mo ang buong daigdig. So, encourage independence. Again, developmentally. So, tingnan nyo, kung syempre mas bata, syempre mas may alam natin na mas maraming gabay na kinakailangan yon sa magulang. Pero kung ito ngayon ay pinag-uusapan natin, mga nasa 8 years old pataas, ito ay mga nasa middle childhood na. So they can do things on their own already. That's why it's very crucial that you have really taught them the basic life skills. Alam mo yun, yung studying, yung uupo ka, makikinig ka, gagawa ka, ito yung allotment mo ng time para gumawa ng activity, saka ka lang pupunta sa iyong social media at manunood ng TikTok. Kailangan na-train mo ng ganon na kasi yung bata. Para ngayon, ma-encourage mo yung independence. Kasi pag hindi, mapapagod ka. Ang dami-dami pong ninyong kailangan pang gawin. At ayaw po natin na umabot sa, yun nga, parental burnout kayo. Okay? And give them responsibilities. Again, when you give them responsibilities, allow their pace. Okay? Basta importante, it is expected of you. Say for instance, nakadelegate, ikaw ang maghuhugas ng pinggan. Nakadelegate, ikaw ang aayusin mo yung kwarto mo. Itutupi mo yung iyong kama. Wawalisan mo yung kwarto mo. Okay, you give them that, pero wag ka naman masyadong paulit-ulit. Masakit, diba? Parang sinasabi ng mga parents, parang paulit-ulit, sobrang nagger. Diba? Sobrang helicopter. You hover over your child. Okay? Bigyan mo silang responsibility, pero hayaan mo sila. Just give them the expectation that, at the end of the day, you have to do this. Okay? Kasi nakita mo naman, meron nga silang schedule eh. Kasi if you keep on nagging them, magre-rebelde lang po. Kayo rin po yung maha-high blood. Kasi hindi rin nila agad gagawin. Diba? Tapos magkakaroon pa kayo probably ng minsan sagutan, o lalong tataas ang tensyon sa bahay, o lalo kayong maha-high blood. So it's, diba? It's futile. So they won't listen. So do not nag. Just give them what is expected of them so that they also learn to be accountable. If you don't do this, then this is the consequence of not doing it. Okay? Bigyan ko po kayo ng example. Nung mga bata po yung mga anak ko, yung kutsara, tinidor namin at mga plato namin, eksakto lang po sa amin. Because I want to teach them that you have to wash your own dishes. Okay? So, sabi ko, pag hindi nyo hinugasan yung pinagkainan nyo, di kainin niya, doon kayo uli kumain sa maduming plato. Kung gusto nyo, okay lang naman sa akin. Wala sa akin yun. Kung kaya ng nyo, sasabihin ko. But of course, they have learned how to fix their own dishes. Okay? You have taught them also to be accountable. Okay? So give them responsibilities, do not nag, and allow them to be accountable for their action. Yan. At ito po, gamitin dahil ito, lalo na po ngayong pandemic, diba? Kadalasan, hindi katulad nga po noon dahil sa traffic. Diba? Pati yung dinner time ay kinuha na sa ating mga anak or sa ating mga pamilya. So now that we're still, well, most of us, majority of us, or may mga times na by schedule naman yung ating mga work from home, use this time. Use dinner time to connect with your child. Alam niyo po ba that there are several studies also that have been found that those children who are able to connect with their parents during dinner time are the ones who are also able to verbalize and allow themselves to be vulnerable. Lalo na kung ang usapan po ay usapang updatean lang, catching up kumbaga. Like, oh anak, what happened to your to your class? O kamusta yung sabi mong the other day? Sabi mo yung teacher mo na stress ka sa ganito, or sabi mo ito yung discussion niyo ng class. O kamusta 'yon? 'Di ba? Yung mga ganun pong tanong, it gives the child now that feeling of, wow, I'm important. 'Di ba? Napakinggan ako, naintindihan ako ng or na interesado yung aking magulang doon sa mga nakwento ko ng isang araw. And when they start to feel that you are interested with them, they start to connect with you. They start to be vulnerable. And a lot of deep-seated emotions can be discovered during dinner time. Marami. Kung marunong lang po kayo mag-catch ng mga kwento ng mga anak nyo, marami kayong makukuha na, ay, ito pala yung ito pala yung nararamdaman ng anak ko noong itong kwentuhan na ito. Ganito pala yung na-feel niya, napahiya pala siya. Ito pala yun, nainis pala siya dun sa isang friend niya kasi hindi siya sinama dun sa group activity. So parang ang feeling niya, hindi siya belong. So doon mo na so pwede mong, of course, magabayan, ma-assure, ma-validate, at matulungan, masabihan ng anak mo, anak, nandito lang ako. Diba? Importante kasing malaman po yan ng mga kabataan ngayon. A lot of them would unfortunately tell me, and when I ask them, alam nyo bang mahal kayo ng mga magulang ninyo? And their unfortunate answer to it, majority of them, alam ko po, pero hindi ko po siya maramdaman. Diba? That's the big unfortunate feeling. Hindi ko siya maramdaman. Bakit? Bakit may misalignment? Ba't hindi bumaba yung iyong alam niya, yung knowledge niya doon sa puso niya? Okay? So, importante po to connect with your children, most especially during dinner time. Always use the talk with them, not to them principle. Allow them to, without judgment. Minsan kasi, di ba, hindi pa sila tapos, meron na tayong pangaral. Minsan, nung panahon ko, yung mga ganyan. So, again, it turns them off when they gets, when our teenagers get turned off, they shut down. And when they shut down, that's very, very, very dangerous to parents. We don't like our children to shut down on us because, children will listen to you after they feel listened to. Kayo po muna ang makinig. Okay? We have again to set a very good example to our children. Okay? And ayan po, tapos na po ako doon sa tips ng how to keep the calm at home. I hope you are able to get some of it or most of it and practice it. Importante po ay ma-practice nyo po iyan with your own children. Okay? So to finally end this webinar, I'd like to share this to you. The parent-child connection is the most powerful mental health intervention known to mankind. So please, dear parents, I would always remind this. You are your child's best support. You are your child's best coach. Okay. And the world out here, okay, is very cruel already. So please do not make it more cruel at home because it is always easier to build strong children than to repair broken adults. Maraming salamat po at magandang hapon at magandang buhay.
Thank you, Professor Ira, again and again. Maraming
Salamat
salamat
po.
po. Huwag po kayong magsasawa sa ang pagtanggap sa aming imbitasyon.
Huwag rin po kayong
mula
magsasawa.
Ay, walang kasawaan to, ma'am. Forever to. Alright. Okay, so may I again call Ms. Diane to facilitate the open forum.
Thank you, Ms. Grace. So before we start the open forum, I would like to remind our dear participants that we are making this webinar a safe space for us to share our thoughts and opinions. Let us respect individual differences and the confidentiality of the information we hear. Thank you. All right, let's proceed to address the questions asked by our dear participants in the pre-registration first. For those of you who wants to ask questions, please feel free to do so by typing your questions in the chat box or in the comment section of our YouTube channel. All right, let's go to the first question. How does multiple roles affect my child, and how can I guide my child to do multiple roles?
Ayun, very good, Miss Diane. Just like what I mentioned, the effect of multiple roles could be very alam mo yun, overwhelming for our children to a point that it might affect rather their mental health. Okay? So ang kailangan po, as I have mentioned, give them a routine, give them strategies, teach them what to do. Para po, do not overwhelm your children. Diba? Because once they get overwhelmed, they start to feel, they have that feeling already that I couldn't carry anymore, more load. And that would start the feeling of burnout. So dahan-dahan lang po. Okay, doon lang tayo sa mas importante muna. Kung nag-aaral, aral lang muna, saka na po uli yung ating mga household chores. Kaya importante pong we set a schedule. Okay po.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for reiterating that. No, meron po tayong follow-up question, ma'am. So, is it okay if we always keep on telling them to do their activities to the point that they find us annoying and it seems to add up to their stress?
Agree. Yun nga po yung sinabi ko. Nako, do not nag po your children, especially the adolescents. They hate it. Okay? Naiintindihan niya po kayo, nadidinig kayo. Minsan lang it seems that our young people are not listening, but they do listen to you. But please, do not repeat. Kayo nga po, subukan sa inyo. Ginawa mo na yan? O ano, tapos ka na? O ulit-ulit, di ba? Naiirita rin po kayo. For sure, mas maiirita po ang ating mga anak. So, stop nagging.
Ayan, thank you so much, ma'am. No? So we have another question po. How can we fully support our children's education during this pandemic, especially on managing our kids' time at school?
Well, kaya po kailangan, tingnan nyo po yung talagang schedule. Tingnan nyo yung talagang activities ng ating mga anak. You have to really be involved as parents. Okay? Tingnan nyo kung gaano ba ka-heavy yung mga ginagawa. Tapos, tulungan nyo po silang gumawa ng kanilang schedule. Okay? Tapos from there, just alam mo yun, follow it up lang. O anak, kamusta? Okay ka lang ba dyan? May problema ba doon sa schedule? Para ngayon sila ay hindi po na-overwhelm na at make sure din na na-follow din yung ating mga schedule na napag-usapan. Kasi pag wala pong schedule talaga, syempre pag bata, uunahin ko talaga yung laro, uunahin ko talaga yung Netflix, uunahin ko talaga yung mas madaling bagay. That's a natural tendency. Iilan lang naman po yung unahin ko mag-aral. Diba? So, pero pag alam nilang may schedule at nagfa-follow up ka, then they will most likely, of course, follow the schedule as well.
Ayan, thank you so much, ma'am, for that. So we have another interesting question, ma'am. Ang sabi po niya dito, how to deal with kids with attention deficiency?
Nako, yun nga po. Kaya nga talagang ang bata ngayon napakaiksi na po talaga ng attention span. That's for sure. Ngayon, kung meron pa pong problema talaga ang batang ito, attention deficit talaga yung bata, then you will have to allow the child to move around. Kasi hindi nga po niya kayang nakaupo lang. So dapat hahayaan niyo siya as long as meron siyang output. Diba? Meron siya kasi may iba namang bata, diba? They're very tactile. So, okay, gumagalaw-galaw sila pero nakakagawa sila, nakakaisip sila ng mga gawain nila sa school, then it's okay. May ibang mga bata, diba? They could, alam mo yun, listen to music while they're doing a reflection paper. It's okay as long as may ginagawa sila. So yung mga attention deficit po or may mga ADHD or talagang bata pa kasi kaya maiksi ang attention span, bigyan nyo sila in small increments. O ngayon aral ng konti, focus, o sige maglabas ka muna o kung anong kailangan mo, then aral uli. Para hindi matagal na nakafocus lang at hindi po nila kakayanin yon.
Ayan, thank you so much, ma'am. So we have the final question po. What is the secret formula to make my kid learn to balance her study and homework?
Okay, the balancing. Ang formula lang po kasi niyan ay paggabay ninyo. Okay? Ang paggabay kasi ng magulang minsan to a point that you become very parang you're hovering over your child. So para kayong helicopter parent. Hindi naman po ganun yung paggabay. So you have to find now a balance. Sabi ko nga po, pag kayo ay ang anak po ninyo ay mas bata, syempre mas malaki yung oras na kinakailangan para gabayan nyo sila sa kanilang pag-aaral. Lalo na nga ngayon na mga activities, kailangan yung i-check kung naintindihan ba nila, naipasa ba nila. Pero po ang ating mga mas matatandang mga anak, pag sinasabi kong mas matatandang mga anak, yung mga 10, 11 na mga bata, ay na yan you have to teach them responsibility already because that's a life skill they have to be able to get by this time. Diba? Responsibility and accountability. So, turuan po, pag hindi nila pinasa, edi zero sila. Di ba sila bahala magpaliwanag kay teacher, hindi kayo ang lalapit kay teacher. Hayaan niyo yung bata makipag-usap at makipag-deal. Paano ba? Anong recourse dito, teacher? Will you give me another chance? I'm sorry. Di ba? Minsan may mga ibang bata akong na-encounter. Ito, kolehiyo na po minsan may mga parents pa yung nagme-message sa'yo kung hindi nagkasakit daw kasi or ganito. Pero mas maganda kasi ituro natin, 'di ba, that our children have to be very independent. Okay, wag tayo finding a balance is always the best as parents. Yun po.
Ayan. Thank you so much, Ma'am Nina Era. And thank you so much to our dear parents for their wonderful questions. So that is all the time we have for our open forum. Back to you, Miss Grace.
Thank you, Ms. Dayan, and thank you again, Professor Era, for the highly informative talk. I am sure hindi lang ating mga parents, kami rin kasi parents din kami, have learned a lot, especially although pareho tayo mga adults na rin ating mga anak. But at least, nag-reflect din ako regarding sa mga tips, So I enjoyed definitely all the tips that you gave us. And now, ito po, as a token of our deepest gratitude for your unending support to our GCCSO programs, please allow me to read the caption of the e-certificate. So from the Guidance Counseling and Career Services Office, or GCCSO, this certificate of recognition is hereby given to Professor Nina Q. Era for being this resource speaker in the GCCSO Week 2021 webinar, Threading Through the Chaos at Home, Guiding Our Kids' Multiple Roles, Parent Education and Support Program, or PAP, given this 22nd day of November 2021, signed Maria Leonila V. Orea, PhD RGC, Director of the GCCSO. Thank you very much. Tanggapin
Thank you.
po ang aming munting token po, ma'am.
Maraming salamat, Ma'am Grace, and to the GCCSO po.
Sa uulitin, ma'am. All right. Now, to help us improve our services, kindly answer the evaluation form using the link which will be placed in our chat box. Ayan. May I request the other guidance counselors to please put the link in our chat box, as well as I think in the YouTube comment section. Yan, for our YouTube viewers, this is just to help us so we can improve our services. Thank you very much. Ayan, thank you, Ma'am Dayan. Nandiyan na po sa ating chat box. And now, ayan, sige po. To formally end our webinar, please join me in singing the UE hymn. Again, thank you very much for joining us. For any inquiries, please do not hesitate to email us at guidance@ue.edu.ph and kindly like our GCCSO FB page at UE Manila GCCSO. And thank you, stay safe, and God bless us all. Mag-request lang po sana, ma'am, kung pwede po mag-photo op saglit.